What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Cjthecheesedj here, and we're back with another Arc Insight. And today we are taking a look at the Ravager and the Direwolf. Both technically considered wolves, according to the devs, as they both have wolf in their name. Obviously, the Ravager is called the Cave Wolf when you want to spawn him in, and obviously the Direwolf is the Direwolf. Now, this is a great start to the video, as you can tell. We've got a Raptor here. These guys are only level 1s, so obviously they're able to put up a fight against a Raptor. Don't know what level that guy was. But, I mean, our Ravager is pretty bloody. It looks like he did cop most of that. But let's just jump straight in here and take a quick look at their stats. We're just going to try and separate them a little bit here, just so we get a little bit of a feel for them. Alright, so if we jump into the Direwolf stats, you can see he's got 330 health, 260 stamina, 170 weight, and 162 melee damage, and 130 movement speed. Now, if we jump into the Ravager's inventory, take a look here. Now, the Ravager has slightly more health at 400, whereas the Direwolf had 330. About 90 more stamina over the Direwolf at 350. The weight is significantly higher than the Direwolves as well, with the Ravager having a 500 weight. Now, just a little side note while we're talking about weight here. The Ravager also reduces the weight of certain items in its inventory, such as metal, stone, and wood, by 50%. So make sure you take that into consideration as well when you're thinking about taming a Ravager up. Melee damage is slightly higher than the Direwolf, as well as movement speed being slightly higher. So now that we've compared their base stats, let's just do a quick overview of their abilities. Now, both these guys get pack bonuses when there is more than one of them present. The Direwolf actually becomes the alpha, and the Ravager also becomes the alpha of the tribe, depending on who the higher leveled one is. As well as that, they also get buffs to their health and damage output, and they're able to do house while being in a pack. Okay, so now that we've gone over their brief basic abilities, they've only got really 2 attacks there. The Ravager has 2 attacks, sorry. He's got his bite attack, his claw attack, obviously used to gather meat and hide separately. Biting being used to gather meat, vice versa. Bite is being used to gather hide, swipe is gathered to use meat. The Direwolf only has the 1 attack. However, you can see here he does have the howl as well. We then proceeded to test the movement speed of the 2, and they both pretty much had the exact same speed when it comes to traversing distances. So the Direwolf successfully ran the course between the 2 trees at 4 seconds, whereas the Ravager was also the exact same at 4 seconds. Now you can see here the stamina use of the Direwolf is also relatively well. These guys are at level 1, so they are at base stats, and he's got a really decent solid amount of stamina that can last him quite a bit of time, considering he's only at level 1. Like I said, the Ravager also covers the same distance in pretty much the exact same time as the Direwolf, the Ravager being slightly faster than the Direwolf. Next up was their jumping ability. So to test this, we just kind of stood in the one spot as the first test and jumped to determine how far forward he went. You see there, the Ravager didn't really go that far forward, but the Direwolf as well also goes much further than the Ravager does on a standing still jump. You can see there we've covered a lot more distance than the Ravager was able to cover with the Direwolf. We then decided to do it while sprinting, and you see here, if we come back here, get a little bit of a running start, and we'll actually jump at the point of that tree. You'll see that the Direwolf is still able to cover more distance than the Ravager. Okay, we kind of slightly bounced on that rock there. That was an unforeseen circumstance. We're going to kind of pit the Direwolf's jump distance about here. I would say he would have reached here if he didn't come into contact with that rock. But the Ravager's jump is slightly less than the Direwolf's. You'll see now shortly. You can see there he does get more height. However, his distance is slightly less than the Direwolf's. However, the Ravager with the higher jump ability is more suited to Aberration, whereas the Direwolf is suited to the maps that you actually find him on, such as Ragnarok, you know, all the other maps that you actually find the Direwolves on. Next up came their melee damage. Now, the Ravager hits 37 with his primary attack, and also he hits 37 with his secondary attack. There is no substitute, they both hit exactly the same. The only difference is that you can use his bite attack while being on the run, whereas his swipe attack you actually have to come to a standstill to use it. The Direwolf actually had the higher base damage, coming in at 53. You can see between the Ravager and the Direwolf actually hits 53. So the base damage on the Direwolf is larger than the Ravager's, which means obviously that the Direwolf will be hitting more damage than the Ravager can. You can see there, only hitting 37 with the Ravager, whereas the Direwolf is 53. Next up was their turning radius, and both these guys have really amazing turning radiuses, is what you'd expect of these sort of tames, you know, your fast, versatile mounts that can easily traverse the terrain, have a bit of bite to their power, as well as having a bit of health. So you can see the Direwolf, no problem turning whatsoever. It's not very difficult to turn with the Direwolf in comparison to the rollout, which is a huge pain in the butt to turn with. You'll see here that the Ravager is similarly the same. You can see they're pretty much exactly the same. However, the Direwolf is able to turn a little bit quicker in my opinion actually. And you can see the walking turning radius is almost perfectly pivoted on the spot. So both these guys are pretty equal in terms of turning radius. Next up, we took them for a little bit of a swim in here. Now both these guys you obviously want to not take into the water as much as possible. But if need be, they can swim relatively okay through the water. They can still attack through the water. The Ravager is only able to utilize his secondary attack, the swipe attack, as I don't know why they don't let him use his swipe attack underwater. It's very strange. You saw there, the Ravager was obviously not the fastest in the water, but that's to be expected from him as they are primarily land mounts. The Direwolf, however, is slightly faster than the Ravager in the water, which can be taken as a pretty good sign. Next up, we checked which one had the better gathering rates. Now, keep in mind that the Ravager has the ability to gather more depending on what attack you use. So, obviously, more meat is gathered by using his primary attack, whereas his swipe is used to gather hide. So, you can see there off the kill from the trike, off the body of the trike, we managed to get 20, 40, 60, 80, about 110 regular meat and 2 prime meat off a single trike, as well as some keratin and 137 hide. Now, this is multiplied by 3. So you'd probably only get 1 prime meat from that and about 40 regular meat from this on official servers. Now if we jump over onto the Ravager here and harvest up the other dead trike that we've got here waiting, you can see there the primary attack gives you a bit of both. However, if you want to focus more, you want to use your swipe attack. That'll actually give you more chances of getting prime meat. But you can see here the Ravager actually lacked getting as much meat as the Direwolf did in a big comparison, as well as the amount of hide. It actually got a lot less hide than the Direwolf did by using its primary attack, which is actually supposed to gather hide for you. Now you can see here, if we use our secondary attack, you can see you actually get more meat. However, you still do not get as much meat as the Direwolf was able to harvest with his regular attack. You can see here, this was the secondary attack, which is the one you use to gather all the meat. And the Ravager didn't even get any prime meat off the trike, which the actual Direwolf did as well. So that's an added bonus of the Direwolf as well. But you can see there's no prime meat, and there's a lot less meat on the Ravager than there is on the Direwolf. Okay, here we go. We've fixed it up now, and they will be fighting now after that little tussle that we just kind of got involved in. And the Direwolf didn't really take too kindly to us standing there. So now, hopefully, the Ravager and Direwolf should duke it out. And you can see there, they're pretty much hitting for exactly what we tested on. I'm not sure what the Direwolf's going around doing. It looks like it's trying to get a bit of meat, actually. This might actually heal one of them. No, the Ravager still managed to kill the Direwolf. No, the Ravager was killed. Excuse me. Great, now we've got hallucinogenic mushroom. Perfect. Okay, we're trying to get to our Direwolf here. Let's... Alright, let's just pop that out quickly, just so we can quickly see how much health the actual Direwolf had left. So he had about half of his health left. So that's actually really impressive in terms of stat-wise. Considering the Direwolf has a little bit less lower health than the Ravager didn't hit hard enough for the Direwolf to take a significant amount of damage. So, make sure you keep that in mind when you plan on taming some of these guys up. Granted, you can't get Ravagers and Direwolves in the same world together, but at least you know which one is the stronger one. Alrighty guys, well, while we're just out here on our little LSD trip, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will catch you in the next one.